Welcome back. We are at the Tuzigoot ruins, which is just outside of Cottonwood, and it's a national park. Here's some information on it here. So this is the overlook trail that we're on. We're going to walk up to the ruins here in just a minute. I'll show off my new hairdo. Went into to Verde, and this morning finally got a haircut, so I feel like I'm halfway human again. So yeah, this is where the Tuzigoot tribe, or Indians, lived way back around 700. And here's the valley that they farmed. The Tuzigoot River, I saw down there. There was a park down there. It's the Tuzigoot River, and so this is where they were. What's this here?
Food and beverage Mormon tea.
Oh, talking about Mormon tea. It's a vegetative grass, and what they use it for. They brewed it. It was a tasty tea, it says. Slightly bitter. It's a mild stimulant, similar to coffee. So, I don't know. It grows here apparently. So, anyway, we'll take you up to the ruins here in just a minute. Pretty cool. I saw them. They're up on a hill. Way up there on that hill. And that's where they lived on. And they had a perfect view of the valley here. And as a defensive residence or village, it'd be probably a smart thing to do. So when we come back, I'll be up there at the Tuzigoot ruins. I say Tuzigoot a lot because I had to learn the word. All right, so be back here in a minute. All right, so if you remember, if you saw my video on the hike around the Coffee Creek, I came across a bush that had little red berries on it. And I said, hey, not sure if this is edible or not. I'm not going to try it. I'm not that adventurous, or something to that effect. Well, I found what it is on this walk we were on at the Tuzigoot ruins. And it's called an intoxicating beauty, and it's called the Desert Christmas Cactus. And those little berries that I showed you in an earlier video are actually edible, and they're the size of a cranberry, and they can make it into jams, mix it into beverages with an intoxicating effect. Summerburst flower appears soft hewn of yellow, bronze, and then green. And I want to walk over to it. That was the bush that I saw, and those little red berries that I pointed out on my walk. So now we know. If someone didn't comment earlier, that little berry that I said I wasn't too adventurous on was in fact edible. Now you know. Now I know. So anyway, continuing on our walk. It's a really nice walk. When we bought our pass, when we went to Montezuma's castle, where it's good for 7 days, and so it didn't cost us anything to come in here. Normally it's $10 per person, but because we bought a $20 pass, it's good for 7 days. So we're taking advantage of it and coming out to see the different scenery. So that's where we're at. Okay, so we walked to the end. It was an educational hike. Talked about the plants and their properties for medicine that the Indians used here. And I just want to show you that that's Jerome up there on that hill. A little bit of snow at the very top of that hill, but the city right below it, right on that hillside, is called Jerome. And it's where I mentioned before, where they did ghost town adventures. And it's an old mining town, and just further up the road on the other side of that hill is the Copper Museum, Arizona's Copper Museum. So don't know if we're gonna get there or not this trip. I'd like to go there sometime, check it out. So now we're gonna go up to the ruins and check it out. turned grain into flour. That's what it looks like. So you can see all that. You can see the valley and the view. I bet you they felt pretty well protected up here, having the high ground against your enemy. So quite a ways up. You'd be able to see someone coming for a long ways out. There's the ruins here. So these are all different rooms, different dwellings. Each one of these is a different dwelling. Again, the view is, they've got the river right down there. There's the river. Different elevations. So we're going to go up above and then film it from the top.
Welcome in. We have a next approach surface site orientation in about 1 minute. We'll talk about 5 minutes.
All right.
If you're interested. If you have to leave, leave. Thanks for coming up, sir.
Hi.
Appreciate it.
So this is from the very top. And all the different structures here.
Okay, we want to welcome everyone in. Awesome. We are standing on top of the Citadel, which is the highest point of this Pueblo site. You are going to be walking around a historic trail. This is a 25% rebuild, and that's what you're looking at. When they excavated this site from a pile of rocks, they found the footprint of each room, which told them a lot, because the artifacts that you see in the visitor center came from the floors of these crushed rooms. And some of them are intact. They were saved. They didn't get crushed. When you see the olive pots, which are in the visitor center, those came from this site. Some of them are all cracked, and they rebuilt them over here in Clarkdale while they were excavating the site. Some of those olive pots they found buried in the ground to collect monsoon water coming off the Pueblo. They had spring water, they had water coming from the Verde, and they had monsoon water. While they were living here from 1025 to 1375, they had plenty of water, which helped them with the foraging, with the hunting, and the agriculture. Then they were affected by something called climate change. Anybody know what that is?
No.
Okay. And diseases.
Well, that's not true.
I'm not going to get into the politics. Okay?
Yes.
Climate change affected them to the point where over 3 generations they left. A generation for these people was probably 50 years, their longevity, but they had to make an important decision to leave here. They didn't want to, but they had to make that decision. These are the original rocks that came from the bottom of a lot of these cliffs here. The historic Verde River is right behind us. It changed during their climate change. On the other side, you're going to look at a mesquite bosque. Those mesquite trees, like some of the other species, were here when the people lived here. Most of their agriculture was out here. There were indications that they had irrigation ditches out here, as they had at Montezuma Castle and Montezuma Well. We are surrounded by a large percentage of public land. It belongs to you folks. We've got an Arizona State Park beyond the ranch. We got BLM land. We got the Coconino National Forest. We got the Prescott National Forest. Large percentage of this site is right next to more public land, and it belongs to you folks. If anybody wants to leave, you can. I'm not going to hold anybody up here.
What was the climate change that affected them that they had to leave?
What was it? What was it, man?
Yeah.
Okay. Very similar to the one we're going through right here, right now. Because the riparian areas were drying up. There wasn't enough water for these people to continue with their lifestyle. Seasons were changing. These people knew the seasons by the way the sky was, by the way the sun was, through those months and months that they lived here. This is what it looked like before 1934. You came up the interpretive trail, the first sign you saw was looking up here of what it would look like. We're standing right here now after the rebuild. Thanks for coming in, man. We have great interpretive signs here. It's 90% self-interpreted. It's awesome. So if you read one of the signs, you say, what is he talking about? Doesn't make sense. We're not 100% accurate. This is what a room would look like. This is an artist's conception, which I love. And you're going to see something interesting here on this picture. You're going to see ladders. That's why you answer the next question. How did they get into the room if there's no doors or windows? Ladder. I bring up the ladder here at about 2 o'clock. And again, this is an artist's interpretation. That's awesome. Give us some different ideas. Most of the time, we think they slept in their rooms. That was what it was for. Not for storing a lot of material and things. They used their roof to do that. There's not a lot of room down there. If you have 4 people, that's still kind of crowded. But you're only sleeping there. My granddaughter was here one time. She's an archaeologist in California. And she said, Grandpa, this is how they would have done it. They put down a yoga mat. And they'd all go to sleep, the 4 of them. Because that's about all the room there is.
So that is going to conclude our tour of the Tuzigoot ruins. I'm also attach about a 5-minute video from the National Park ranger who gave us a dissertation of how the ruins came to be, and the Tuzigoot River, or that we know now as the Verde River, where it came from, and how this was just a pile of rocks. And in 1935 they did an excavation here and found all the artifacts that supported this community of natives that lived here. So in 1935 they rebuilt this to the ruins that you see now. There's a picture that shows this is a pile of rock, and they started going through these rocks, and then they started finding the artifacts that are on display inside of the museum here. So they rebuilt this, and this is a rendition of how the archaeologists said this is how the community lived. This is the evidence they left behind. So pretty interesting. Hi there.
Hey, that's a handy little.
Yeah.